Hello again, everyone. In this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about the top 5 struggles of the LGBTQ community that leads to addiction. There are many struggles. Many. Too many to name, honestly. But I'm going over these kind of as a basis for the beginning of the struggles that we face daily, that includes at home, at work, at school, in the stores, in our neighborhoods, in our states. Like, there's so many places that we face struggles. But unfortunately, some of these struggles end up leading to addiction. Now, I am not an addictions counselor, although through Trevor I have, basically counseled some of the LGBTQIA youth who have started using and trying to move them over towards more beneficial and better ways of coping with the struggles. But I have not had any schooling specifically for substance abuse and addiction. But even in college, some of the assignments and stuff that have come up have been about this topic. So, with that being said, if you are struggling with addiction, I do have resources and stuff available to give to you. You just gotta reach out and let me know, or you can find some of them on my community tab. Addiction takes the lives of thousands of Americans each year. Although close to 21 million Americans struggle with addiction, only 10% receive the necessary help. As a result, drug-related deaths have more than tripled in the past 30 years. Addiction is especially prevalent in the LGBTQIA+ community. LGBTQ members are often bullied and cast out from their families. In many cases, they turn to drugs or alcohol as a mental escape from the hardships in life. Fortunately, numerous therapies exist to help LGBTQ individuals overcome addiction. This is going to be just a little bit of a recap of who is in the LGBTQ community, because the initial stand for lesbian, gay, as in man, bisexual, transgender, and queer/questioning. A lesbian is a woman who is attracted to other women. A gay man is a man who is attracted to other men. Bisexual refers to people who are attracted to both the same sex and the opposite sex as themselves. Transgender is a person that identifies with a gender that differs from the gender they were assigned at birth. And pop quiz. Anybody that's watched my other videos, can anybody put in the comments below what the letters are, the initials that explains how a trans or non-binary person was born? before the transition. Anyway, and then the Q is for queer or questioning. As a person that is queer or questioning may be unsure of their sexual identity. They may be exploring their sexuality before identifying themselves with a specific term or gender. The community can also be referred to as the LGBTQ plus community. The plus encapsulates any other ways of sexual or gender identification, such as pansexual, asexual, non-binary, and more. Determining one's sexuality or gender will be a different experience for every member of the LGBTQIA plus community. Research has shown that adults in the LGBTQ community have a higher rate of addiction as opposed to the heterosexual counterparts. A 2018 national survey on drug use and drug health found that more than 37.6% of the adults in the LGBTQ community used marijuana in the past year. This statistic is in comparison to 16.2% of the overall adult population that states they used marijuana in the same time frame. The same study shows that LGBTQ individuals are more likely to use opioids than heterosexuals. Around 9% of LGBTQ adults reported opioid drug use as compared to 3% of heterosexuals. Approximately 12.4% of the LGBTQ adults also reported drinking alcohol in comparison to 10.1% of the overall population. Bullying and harassment play a significant role in pushing members of the LGBTQ community towards drug use. Often, sexual minority adults turn to drugs and alcohol to block the pain felt from hurtful words and actions. Addictive behaviors can occur and send the individual into a downward spiral. A 2016 study was conducted to investigate the role of school counselors primarily in how they attended the LGBTQ community. The study found that although sexual minority bullying was prevalent in schools, there were no specific anti-bullying interventions, state laws, or policies to address these issues. When children are bullied, it sets the stage for prolonged problems that can carry into adulthood. Bullying can trigger depression and anxiety, and it can lead to low self-confidence and low self-esteem. Unfortunately, these issues do not always cease once an individual leaves the school system. Sexual minority members are often called out and criticized by the way that they live. So, how does bullying and harassment lead to addiction? Bullying and harassment drive behaviors such as low self-esteem, insecurity, depression, anxiety, anger issues, hopelessness, resentment, suicidal thoughts. Instead of opening up about their problems, many choose to bottle their emotions. This is especially common in the LGBTQ community, where individuals feel like there is no one that they can talk to. Many choose to self-medicate instead of healthily dealing with their issues. They turn to drugs and alcohol, and such actions can bring harm to themselves and to the people around them. The best way to help someone with an addiction is to encourage them to find treatment. Many treatment programs start with detox, so the body overcomes physical addiction, followed by customized therapeutic methods so patients overcome issues of low self-esteem and low self-worth. Usually, one can turn to their family when they have an issue. They know their relatives will provide unconditional love and stand next to them no matter what problem they are experiencing. However, many people in the LGBTQIA plus community are not so lucky. They may have mothers, fathers, and other relatives who don't understand their sexuality. Their relatives may reject them and even refuse to speak or interact with them. Not only does this increase the likelihood of addiction, but it also makes recovery more challenging. LGBTQ adults who experienced prenatal conflict or parental conflict due to their sexuality were 3.4% times more likely to do illegal drugs as opposed to LGBTQ adults with healthy parent-child relationships. LGBTQ adults with strained family relationships were also 8.4 times more likely to attempt suicide, 5.9 times more likely to experience depression, and 3.4 times more likely to have unprotected sex. So how does family conflict and rejection lead to addiction? For most individuals, parental approval means a lot. Without this support, people may find themselves feeling worthless or depressed. Many turn to drugs and alcohol to ease these negative emotions. Substance abuse ultimately intensifies a downward spiral that can be difficult to bounce back from without a strong family base. There is a lot of family conflicts within the community. There just really is. Abuse and trauma. Abuse and trauma are all too prevalent in the LGBTQIA community. Abuse could come from a high school bully who harasses people they don't understand. It could be a parent who refuses to accept that their child is different. It could be a sexual partner who feeds on negative emotions. Whatever the source of the abuse and trauma may be, it is hurtful to individuals on a physical and emotional level. It often drives a person to drink or do drugs to numb the pain. The National Coalition of Anti-Violence Projects, NCAVP, estimates that half of the transgender and bisexual female population will experience sexual violence at some time in their lives. LGBTQ people are more likely to deal with poverty, marginalization, and stigma, all of which put them at a greater risk for sexual abuse. Unfortunately, sexual abuse doesn't always occur in adulthood. A 2001 study research of 942 adult participants showed that 46% of homosexual men experienced molestation as a child as compared to 7% of heterosexual men. 22% of lesbians reported molestation issues as opposed to 1% of heterosexual women. Abuse and trauma can lead to feelings of low self-esteem and low confidence. Abuse can also cause post-traumatic stress disorder, a disorder that makes it difficult for people to recover from experiencing a traumatic event. It is difficult for many to speak about traumatic incidents. They may feel like they are somehow at fault, or that they may not want to relive the episode. They may also feel uncomfortable blaming their aggressor, especially if it is a family member. Without the ability to report abuse, many people internalize their problems and turn to drugs and alcohol to self-medicate, which only worsens their condition. Unemployment and homelessness is also a struggle for many. It is not unusual for LGBTQ members to experience homelessness or unemployment. This is especially common among youth who don't feel comfortable living with unaccepting parents, whose parents kick them out because of their sexuality. Many sexual minority members also have mental issues due to rejection and discrimination, making it difficult to find a job and a shelter. According to the Williams Institute, homelessness in the gay community is a major issue in America. Their statistics show that around 40% of homeless youths identify as LGBTQ. In terms of adults, 43% of homeless in drop-in centers, 30% of street outreach clients, and 30% of those utilizing house programs identify as LGBTQIA+. Unemployment, homelessness, and addiction can go hand in hand. Many LGBTQ individuals turn to drugs and alcohol to self-medicate, which can cause them to lose their jobs and their homes. In other instances, LGBTQ members may use drugs and alcohol to escape from the stress of homelessness and unemployment. They may turn to unhealthy substances and try to bury feelings of anxiety and depression and take them away from less than perfect reality. Higher rates of depression and anxiety is also a major struggle. With all the trauma and rejection that LGBTQIA plus people experience, they are likely to suffer from anxiety and depression. Those with anxiety or depressive disorders will continuously feel these negative emotions throughout their life. These disorders can keep one from getting out of bed in the morning, keep one from being productive, and harm their relationship with others. While depression is common among the general population, it is especially prevalent among sexual minority children and adults. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, lesbian, gay, and bisexual adolescents are twice as likely to commit suicide as heterosexual youths. Other studies have shown minority stress to have significant negative impact on the well-being of LGBTQ youth and adults. Many people use drinking to drown out sorrows. Alcohol and other drugs may make people sleep or may elevate their emotions to the point where they forget their problems. In the long run, however, substance abuse will worsen the situation and lead to a vicious cycle. Constant abuse of drugs and alcohol will also lead to dependency and dangerous side effects. LGBTQ members are often victims of emotional and physical abuse, and they may attempt to self-medicate with drugs and alcohol. Fortunately, there is hope. There are many rehab centers, counseling agencies, online or in person. A lot of insurances will pay for the treatment. Sometimes you can get it court ordered. Like if you've been drinking and driving and you get a DUI or something, you can have the court order rehab, and that way the state kind of picks up the fees. Not always. Sometimes they order it, but they still make you pay, so you have to really check into it within your jurisdiction and stuff. But there are plenty of options of seeking help. So the differences between LGBTQ accepting and LGBTQ affirming businesses. The difference between LGBTQ accepting and LGBTQ affirming businesses is a focal point in the addiction space. While most recovery programs are open to sexual minorities, an LGBTQ affirming business will go beyond basic treatment options. They will provide services that address the specific needs of the LGBTQ community. These businesses will see to it that their clients are treated in a non-homophobic manner. They will educate their health professionals about alcoholism and addiction as it affects the LGBTQIA+ patients. LGBTQIA affirming businesses often integrate LGBTQ-friendly materials in their brochures, bulletin boards, and educational resources. LGBTQ members can feel safe and comfortable with their sexuality or gender identity as they receive treatment. So that is something that you can look for whenever you are trying to seek help. Because honestly, if you've got all of these struggles and they are building up on top of each other, and you turn to drinking and drugs, and then you get put into a facility that will not call you by your name, not your birth name, not, you know, your nickname that your friends give you, but your name. If they do not go by your pronouns, if they do not respect your wishes of you being able to dress in the clothes that affirm your gender, then they're literally only adding to the problem, the whole problem at the core. So, if you have a loved one and you are looking towards getting them some assistance with a drug or alcohol problem, and they are part of the LGBTQIA community, it is very important that you offer them the assistance through a place that is not going to make it worse for them. Now, I'm not saying these special LGBTQIA affirming places and stuff aren't going to be bad. I mean, there's good and bad and all, but at least the ones that are trying to step up and do the right thing by the community to allow all of us to receive the help that we need, you know, they're probably far and few in between. Not every town is going to have them, and maybe not even any of the big cities in every state. I mean, it's going to be something that has to be searched for. But if you are in need of assistance to try to find a treatment place that will be LGBTQIA plus friendly, then you can reach out to me and I can try to help you locate one near you. Stay safe, everybody.